So this would be a solution to a problem that I've had for like the last 30 years. You know the one, don't you? You're playing on your Spectrum and you think, God, I'd like to print that out for no good reason, that I want a hard copy of it. But I never had a printer for my Spectrum, and I've always regretted it. And I've tried to acquire them when I got a bit older and I started collecting. Got a couple of the ZX printers, but as far as I can tell, they're made out of chewing gum. Or the belts certainly are, anyway. I've never got one yet that works, because I think they used a spark printer. And you had two electrical contacts on a belt, which would actually burn metal, which was laid over black paper to actually print the image. It was quite an interesting idea, actually, and I wish I had one that works. I don't. I've got tons of the paper, but no working printers. Like I said, every time I've tried to buy one, the belt's been knackered, and I don't know how I would go about fixing that. I'm sure somebody's figured it out, but I never have, not yet. Anyway, I gave up on the ZX printers, and I started looking at this. You can't really see it very well because the box is pretty tatty, but it's an Alphacom 32 thermal printer, and it's supposed to be compatible with the ZX81 and the Spectrum. So it's a little bit different than the Spark printer in that it uses thermal paper rather than aluminium covered paper. It's works a bit like a fax machine in that way, I suppose. So I was watching a couple on eBay, put a watch on this one, and the seller came back and said, well, if you give me 15 quid, you can have it. But it's untested. They said they don't have a Spectrum anymore. They said it worked when it was last used, but it's not been used for a long time, and they've no way of testing it. Well, which is fair enough. So I thought I'll roll the dice, and I've bought it. Yeah. So they did say the box was in poor condition. They weren't kidding. I've had a little look inside already, and it all looks to be there, with the exception of the manual. But I'm sure we can figure that out between us. And I think I can download a copy of the manual anyway. All these are in decent condition. Ooh, and there it is. Printer and power supply as well. I've ordered some paper for it. Paper that I think will fit. It was only really, really cheap off AliExpress. It's not arrived yet, but there does seem to be a full roll in it already. So I don't know, does thermal paper go off over time? Does it still work? I guess we'll find out. Anyway, there's paper in it, so I think we just give it a go. But yeah, let's see what we've got. So power supply. Do you know if that will focus? That would be great. So what have we got? 24 volt output. Blimey. Okay. That. And then printer itself. Oh, yeah. The cables seem to have become one with the box. So that was a polystyrene when it gets old, isn't it? Alright, let's get rid of that. There it is. Okay. Bits of polystyrene and all sorts stuck to it, but I mean, I can clean that off later if the thing works. Very, very short lead, actually, to connect to the computer. I'm surprised at that. But that's okay. 3.5mm mono jack. I presume that just connects up to the... Well, it must just connect up to the power supply like that. Okay. Yeah. You know, I'm tempted just to throw power straight to it before I plug it into anything else and just see if it does anything, doesn't explode. Because if it does explode, I'd rather it didn't take one of my Spectrums with it. So maybe that's the best option. I'll tell you what I will do first, though, is I'll check the plug, because there seems to be a 50-50 chance of this being horrendously wired. That looks pretty good, actually. That looks alright. Well, that's a bit hanging out, but make sure things are still tight. It's got a 3 amp fuse in it, which is exactly what it should have. Yeah, we're okay. It's just so many times I've gone to plug in a retro computer and I've checked the plug and thought, thank God I didn't plug that in there, and then, you know, it's like people buy these things back in the day and then they give it to the 5-year-old to fit the plug. But yeah, anyway, that looks okay. Do you know what? Let me just get around the camera. Let's put some power to it. Let's just see what it does. It'll be fine. Okay, it's plugged in. It's not doing anything. Turn it on. Oh. Well, the advance button works. Does that just tear off? Oh, it does. Look at that. Apart from that bit. Right, I'm 50% sure it's not going to kill anything now. So let me unplug it again. Let me get a Spectrum and let's see if we can make it do something. There we go, we're hooked up, and I'm using my luminous yellow Spectrum for this one because it's not had a run for a while, so why not? And it's an interesting design actually, because it's passed through on the edge connector, so you can plug something else in at the back if you want to, but they've designed it just nicely so that where the cable comes out, if that will focus, it puts strain on the power plug because you've got to lift one out of the way of the other. Not brilliant, but that's what they've done. If they'd have sent it the other way round and just put a longer lead on, that would have made sense, or the other side, and I could have put the printer on the other side, but that's not what they did. Anyway, we're powered up. I'll put you back in the stand and we'll see if we can get a response out of this thing. Right, I don't have the manual and I've never used a printer on a Spectrum before. I'm not sure what the command is, but I'm going to try Lprint, I think. Lprint. Do I put that in quotes? Probably. Stay is testing. Because I am. That did nothing. Oh, do you know, it might not be on. Let's try turning it on. Right, try that again. Print. State is testing. Enter. Aha! It did something. I don't know what it's done, but it's done something. Let's see if we can see anything. Let's see, just advance that a little bit. Oh, it did. Very, very faintly. Print. That could be down to the old paper, but it is very hard to see. I don't know if that's going to focus on the camera. It is actually there. I'll tell you what, let's try printing a screen. Apparently, copy is the command I'm looking for, so let's try that one. My God, it works. There we go. And will that focus? Will it? Bloody hell. Ah! There it goes. It's working. And that 30-plus-year-old thermal paper is working as well. Seems to be getting better. Well, there you go. Right, let's have some fun. Let's print some pictures. I have no idea what the printer's going to make of this, but I mean, let's find out. It's actually better than I thought it was going to be. There you are, it will print pictures. So there you go. I'm not sure what else I can really show you with this machine, really. It's an old thermal printer that after 30 plus years it still seems to work. Very unlike the ZX printers. It's very impressive. Got some new thermal paper on order for it. It's a fairly easy thing to buy actually online, is thermal paper, because it's still used in printer tills and what have you. In fact, the printer paper and what it's printing out feels very much like a shop receipt, as it would do, I suppose. So that's the sort of quality you're going to get from it. Perfectly adequate for a cheap printer for an 80s 8-bit computer, I think. That's come out better than I thought. I wasn't sure if that was going to print out the black background and leave the turtles transparent, but no, it's done it this way. It seems to work quite well. I'm assuming, like all thermal paper, it'll fade in about a year and then it'll just go blank again. That seems to be the way it works. But yeah, I'm glad I've got one. I'm glad I didn't pay too much for it, because I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do with it. I can't imagine it's something that's going to get an awful lot of use. But I always wanted to play about with a printer on a Spectrum, and now I have, I suppose. But did you have one back in the day? And if you did, what did you use it for? I mean, obviously printing, but I mean, what specifically? Did you enjoy it? Was it a waste of money for you? How did you get on with it? Have you still got one? Is it still working like this one? I'm quite impressed, actually. I don't think I want to do too much to this. I'm going to give it a little wipe over to clean it, and then it should be good as new. Anyway, thanks for watching. I know it's been a while since I last posted anything, and it might be a while again. I'm a tad busy at the moment, but I do have stuff. I've got numerous other Spectrums that need repairing. We'll eventually get round to looking at those. I've got an Amiga 600 that's been floating around for the last year or so. That needs looking at. That might work or might not. I don't even know yet. Atari 2600 composite mod. Got a kit for doing that. I've got several things to look at. Just very little time at the moment, but we'll get there. Anyway, if you sat this far, thanks very much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you on the next one. Bye.